Have you ever looked at the latest games coming out and thought, I would love to play that, but I don't know if I can afford it? Or that a game looks fun, but there's no way that I can find the time to play it? Well, that's the topic I'd like to discuss in this video and see if I can help you in making your decision on whether or not to get a new video game. So start, let's look at looking at a game if it's really worth our money. And for that, I really just take kind of a simple, very basic math centric way of looking at it. When I buy a game that's brand new, it's coming out, it's at $70. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, I only make $10 an hour. Well, that means I have to work 7 hours to be able to purchase this game. Obviously, not including tax in there. So, in a perfect world where we don't have to pay taxes, um, we would be able to buy that in 7 hours of work time. But then if I look at a video game and say, yeah, it'll be fun for a time, but I don't think I would play it for 7 hours, then it becomes a simple decision. Well, it's not worth that amount of time for the money. Or you could even look at it a little more deeply and think, is this game really worth 7 hours of my work time in order to buy it? Is that something I would like to invest in? And that's kind of where, if you want to look at buying a new game, you should look at, is it going to give a return based on how much I invested into it? And that becomes even more prevalent and obvious when you get into even more expensive games, such as Destiny 2. That game goes well into the hundreds of dollars if you want to get all the content. But if you're not going to play all the content, then it's not worth your money. And while it might be tempting to get the latest and greatest and the newest thing, if you're not going to use something, you should not buy it and you should save it. Or at the very least, wait for a sale and then get it at a price that you would be willing to spend on it, and the time value becomes more efficient for you. And obviously, that's pretty much common sense to many people, but maybe not exactly what you thought about when you look at the news game. You might be thinking, like, well, is it the best game out there in this kind of sphere that I'm looking at? But even if it is it worth the time you have to put into it? And ultimately, if you can't make more money than you're spending, you're going to go into debt. And I'm not a financial advisor, not meant to be that, but just kind of giving you ideas on what I think is a baseline to look at when you're going to buy a new game. Right, for the second part I like to discuss is really if the game is worth my time. And really, this is the question you'd have to answer for yourself in the end, but it's a question that I think is important for you to ask, because what might be a great game for me to spend my time in might not be a very good game for you to spend your time in. And some people appreciate different games. Some might like Minecraft, or some people might like Doom Eternal, or even Doom the Dark Ages that might be coming out. That'll be coming out here soon. And even if you like those, you might like them both just to different degrees and for different reasons. If you look at them, there's a lot of things that you can give credit towards either one. If you're not into Minecraft, even the price tag of being only like $20, it's not worth it to you because you're not going to play it, even though the potential value in it for many people has been hundreds of hours, if not thousands of hours, even into one world. The value for a lot of people is there. It might not be there for you. If you play Doom the Dark Ages but you're not willing to complete it, then there's no point for you to spend the $7 on it. Although Doom Eternal, for reference point, took around roughly about 24 hours average completion time, which would make that game, around that $70 price tag would be worthwhile. And if Doom Dark Ages is about the same completion time, then clearly it would be a game for your value that you could really get your worth in. But between these two, there's a lot of other things. And in that Minecraft world, you could spend that much time, but if you spend all that time in Minecraft, you maybe never could experience that little indie game that is golden that can maybe last just an hour. One game I played recently is Superliminal. It's a great game. I played it for free personally, but it was a great experience for being what it was. And if I didn't take the time away from my live service games, I would never been able to experience it. And I think that's really what my thesis, as it were, is that you should be able to and make time to play other games and enjoy a little more variety. And I think that would improve your core gameplay in general. And I think a lot of people we have in this modern day and age with live service multiplayer games, we have probably at least one multiplayer game we play the most. Maybe you're into Fortnite still, or you're into the more recent Marvel Rivals, or you're maybe more into the series shooters, so you're playing Siege. And if you are playing games like those, then you'd be tempted to play those on the regular. And if you have the time to play that and the other games, great. But if you're like me, I can only play once a week that's consistent. Then if I'm always playing, say for instance, Marvel Rivals that weekend, I'll never be able to play the newest Halo whenever it does come out, or any of the Elden Ring games. I'm never going to experience those longer single player focused games that maybe takes a lot of time. And even though they could, play them in different ways. And that's kind of where I want you to look at when you're buying a game and you think like, okay, well, this game's got 100 hours of gameplay. Like, okay, well, is that 100 hours of good gameplay? So like, if it's a Ubisoft game, you're probably paying 90 hours worth of the random side quests of Doom, as I'd like to call them, because you'll never actually want to beat them. You just have to beat them to get that trophy that says you completed it 100%. And I'm not really into that kind of thing, but if you are, you might want to choose a game that's shorter, that is filled with dense, good content. And that's kind of what I think is like. You might compare, your Ubisoft open world compared to the Hitman limited open world, so just the density is totally different for content. And for your time, I would recommend that you would look out into the year. And this is kind of where I'm like you to really focus is if you were to plan out your whole year, it's like, okay, well, I'll make enough money to buy, say, 5 newer games that I can develop and play a decent amount of gameplay in the year. It's like, okay, but if you play one game that will take 100+ hours, but you can only pay 5 hours a week, quick math, that's 20 weeks. And think about that. A year is only 52. So almost half the year is into one game. And I just want you to think about it. If you spend that much time into one game, but you'll never be able to experience all these other games, it might be worth to spend, 3 or 4 weeks playing, a more limited game and get your value of that, and then be able to move back to getting into Marvel Rivals or into Siege again, or Fortnite for that matter, and you could just bounce off and play a little more variety. So you might have to think like, okay, I want to play this many new games in the year to kind of stay fresh and actually excited about the games. And then you got to plan out how much money, see if it's worth that, and also you're gonna have to plan out your kind of if the game's going to be worth it. Will you actually be able to complete it? And that's why I don't play many open world games anymore. It's just I don't have enough time to get into those games anymore. However much I would love to play Elden Ring, it's just I do not have the time to play it. And you'll have to make those decisions for yourself. And I'm not going to claim that I'm a master at time management. I definitely waste my time at times. But I think it is something that we should always take consideration in when we are looking at our gaming, because gaming community in general is often disdained and looked down upon for being lazy, wasting our time, or being wasteful with our financials. And we don't have to be. We can be better than that. And I think we should be. And if you are, and if you think you are, please let me know in the comments around how you do this, because I'm not going to claim that these 2 quick tips, they're not really in depth, but they're just quick tips that I like to consider. And if you have anything, any tricks you like looking at, or things that you consider when buying new games, let me know. Shoot in the comments, or like and subscribe if you think this video is worth it. If you don't like it, don't subscribe. I'm just glad you came in for this once. But that is really what I like to discuss. And honestly, guys, it's been fun. I hope you guys are playing good games. Let me know what games you do play, what games you spend the most time in. I've been recently playing Siege the most. And if you guys are playing Siege, please let me know. I think it's a great game, although a little strange at times. And who knows if Ubisoft will keep the lights on at all. But I'll be seeing you next time.